my lucky day!
Your luck just ran out!
How's it going, people? Logan JYA coming at you live with a brand new Tier Elements deck profile, one of my favorite decks to play, you already know. Ever since the deck got hit on the ban list, we've been trying it out, testing it, trying to make it as good as it can be on the competitive scale, and with the help of some friends. Shout out my boy CJ, shout out Brahim and Yoke, man. Tom Kilborn, all the homies, I appreciate y'all immensely for the work that you helped put into this strategy. I want to release it out to you for your thoughts and feedback. Let me know what you think about it. In this video, we just go through the list, but if you want to see gameplay, combo tutorials, things of that nature, let us know in the comments down below, or join the live stream where we will oftentimes be playing this as one of our regular decks that ends up in rotation. Don't forget to check out the link in the description to get your hands on the Medionis Drykage Field Centers. And now, let's dive into the deck profile. Alright guys, we are here with it, one of my favorite fun decks to play, and still extremely competitive and surprisingly powerful despite all of its ban list hits, that being Tier Elements. For those of you who don't know the history, I never played this deck at full power. A lot of my friends say that I would have loved it, but I never ever took that leap. Even though now it's been hit time and time again, I love to play this deck, and I want to share my love of it with you with my most current build. So I got to give quick shout outs once again to Brahim, to Yoke Man, to my friends who helped me make this deck as strong as it can be, to TK, all of the homies who work on this deck with me. They know how much I love it, and they love it as well, and we just have a lot of fun building it, playing it, and rolling that slot machine, baby. So without further ado, let's dive into this list and show you how we can make the slots turn in your favor as strong as possible with a build like this. Let's do it. Starting things off, the monsters, you already know we got our powerful one-ofs at 1 for a reason, because these cards are just so darn good. We've got one of the Tier Kage, Sheeran, Havness, and Merly, one of each of these beauties. Yeah, they're at 1. This archetype is insane. They're probably going to stay at 1 for the foreseeable future. Moving on from there, we've got our two friends, Rhino Heart. I've been staying at 2, okay, guys, because I am still playing the Diviner. Spoiler alert, yes, I'm still playing Diviner, so I chose to play 2 copies of Rhino Heart. You could easily bump this up to 3. I could totally see that being a viable option. I think, though, what is that golden rule of 5 normal summons in the main board is usually one of your safest bets. That's kind of what we're pursuing here. But, of course, this serves double duty because you're milling it. You're getting that powerful effect. You want to have this card in rotation also to make things like Kaleido Heart, of course. Moving on from there, triple copies of Tier Cash. Yeah, that's not changing. Tier Cash, crazy. I think you got to play Tier Cash at 3. It is a bigger and better Avernus. One of the best things about this deck is that you put up big bodies and can swing in for a game like that at the drop of a hat, and you're killing your opponent. That's what makes it so powerful. Followed up with 2 copies of Fenrir, combo card. This is a going first card, it's a going second card. In my build, I love playing the bigger Cash Tira engine here. In fact, there was a time where I was also testing a copy of Unicorn and Birth with it, jacking it up even more. However, that proved to be inconsistent and overall just not worth it. So, we're sticking to our 2 copies of Fenrir to chill out with those Tier Cashes. Moving on, we got the triple copies of Diviner. I mentioned this earlier. I think that this is a very strong normal summon still. If you're eating a hand trap on this, whether it be a Veiler, an Imperm, guess what? You can use this to make something like Sprint. It stays level 2. So that is actually low-key kind of helpful for you in that situation. This is such a threatening card. You throw it down on the board, your opponent either has to deal with it, you're both going to be milling 5, or you're setting up a shuffler. Speaking of those shufflers, we got 2 of them. We got Medora and Keldo at 1 for good reason. Same thing goes for our friends Kelbeck and YuGiOh, the big mill boys. Yeah, guys, there's a reason why they're in this deck. It's absolutely insane to mill 5 cards. There's a reason why they're at 1 as well. I don't see that ever changing, if we're being real. So, that's the majority of the monsters, but get finishings off with the supporting cast. Of course, we gotta play triple copies of King of the Swamp to get into things like our beautiful Rukalos or any of the other goated fusion monsters we have access to, thanks to playing this card, and triple copies of Yamasil in the main. I think, low-key, I can't cut this card. You have to play a Kaiju in the main for Tier Elements to have an answer to things like a Rise Heart or things like Nor, and we actually have multiple answers to a Rise Heart built into the main deck. This is only one of them, and that's it for the monster lineup. Let's continue on here. Triple copies of the field spell. Oh yeah, no surprises there. This card's insane. The planet, the popping, the searching, the do the thing, give the 500 boost. Insane. This is one of the best field spell cards I've ever read. Follow that up with the 1 planet to search out either Tier Cash or Fenrir, or playing 3 copies of Fenrir if you want to think about it like that. Maybe even make it 4 with our friend Terraforming that searches out either one. Yeah, we like seeing our field spells. They're really, really good cards, so we want to see them as fast as possible.
Moving on from there, we're playing 2 copies of Tier Stream. You could bump this up to 3. I could totally see that being a thing. However, I would not bump it down to 1. I wouldn't only play 1 of this card. This card's pretty insane. Whether you're lining up trap access off of a random mill or sending it off of Kaleido Heart to get a guaranteed trap search, yeah, Scream is pretty flipping good, especially going to games 2 and 3 when you know you're going first. You can line up the perfect trap for the matchup. Things to keep in mind. Follow that up there, though, we got our Poly package. This is a new card here. For me, at least, a new card that I'm playing is a Super Poly in the main. Again, shout out Brahim, shout out Yoke, They really put me onto this card. Shout out to my boy CJ as well. When it comes to the super polymerization, this card is so strong. It breaks apart some of the most dangerous cards that we have to deal with. So if you keen eyes will notice, I did cut the Shit All Beast from my main deck. I'm not playing Winda anymore, and that was in order to make room for the other copy of a super polyable monster in our extra deck to make sure we had the most viable options to pair well with this card. So we are main decking the super polymerization and took great success so far in testing. It's wiping out boards. It's doing its job. It's great against decks like Sprite. It's great against a Rise Heart. It's wonderful, guys. Super Poly, really strong. Follow that up with the 1 copy of Polymerization to go with our King of the Swamp. Then we've got our Foolish package. We got 2 copies of the Foolish Burial Goods and the 1 copy of Foolish Burial. I know Foolish Burial Goods is a starter. I'm sure Brahm and Yoke are rolling their eyes at me for only playing 2 of it. But it's a hard once per turn. I mean, it's not the strongest logic to sit on. It falls into the same camp of, you want to see it sometimes, not all the time. But hey, this is the ratio that I'm still kind of comfortable with. And that does it for the spells. Rounding things out with trap cards, we got 2 copies of the TEARLAMENTS Sulliak, which is our imperm and the best 1/2 mil since it lets you search any monster, and the 1 copy of the Terrific Karma, which searches any card that mentions Visa Starfrost. That includes your field spell. So that's it for the main board. Let's move into the extra deck real quick. This is where we get to really flex on. Oh, I love this thing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you really get to see the beauty here. Oh yeah, we got the 1 copy of Rukalos. Rukalos, goated card. Just negating those summoning effects. Yeah, you summon this early, it plays around Nibiru. Pretty simple stuff. It's one of your main key end board pieces. Follow that up with Kaleido Heart, another key feature because it gives you access to things like your trap cards. You pop this with your field spell all the time, you get your searches, you're outing boards with it. It's insane. Just don't forget that it can't be fusion summoned with. That's both a bad thing for you, but also a good thing for you because you can't be super poly. Things to keep in mind. Follow that up, we got the 1 copy of the Guardian Chimera Essential Guardian Chimera. You want to use this to make a big swipe at your opponent's board or get some free draws. Be my guest. It's one of the strongest board-breaking cards in your extra deck. I think you'd be a fool to cut it completely, so you have to play the Guardian Chimera, in my opinion. Follow that up with the 1 copy of Garura. This is where Winda went. We turned it into Garura to make the Super Poly a bit more worth it, because this is one of the most generic targets you can summon. You can also use it to make things like Dark when you're comboing through a board, or link it off later on in the plays. We play very few link monsters, so Dark is usually going to be your most common access point. But then you still get your free draw, right? I will say this, I'm not playing Beatrice, I'm not playing Bestials in the side deck, so it doesn't really make much sense to. We're not playing the 6s like you would in a Destiny Hero build, and there is a lot of validity to those builds. I'm not going to discredit them, I think they're amazing. However, right now we're primarily just playing this Garura, either to make as a fusion monster if we really need to, which is a little tricky to do, but primarily for that super polymerization. Moving on, we got the 1 copy of the Mud Dragon, another generic target that we may fuse into or may make with Super Poly. We got the 1 copy of the Draco Stapelia, one of the strongest cards you have access to. Again, it's another imperm type monster. Turns things into level 1. Very strong in the Sprite matchup. And we got our Grapha Fusion, the generic Omni Negate Fusion. Deal with things like evenly matched Lightning Storm, other blowouts that we just don't want to see. That's it for that. Let's move on into our links. We've got our friend Dark. I mentioned him earlier, so we are playing the Dark as our generic link 2. It's the easiest one for us to make. More oftentimes than not, this is the easiest one to make, and sometimes we're going to be using that to climb into our Sprint, which gives us guaranteed access to our Merly and for our fusion plays. And again, guys, I am still playing the Cherubini package with our boy Draco Sack. Spoiler, oh, that's not Draco Sack, what the heck? With our boy Draco Sack for that guaranteed fuse. That's one thing that I just know that this deck generally lacks, is guaranteed fuse access. I love this combo so much just because it lets us make literally anything. We can make ourselves a Grapha Fusion, we make ourselves a Rukalos just off of seeing Fenrir. As long as we have a tier to banish, we're being chilling. So I really do highly value this package. I think it's worth it. And it comes with the added benefits of playing the Draco Sack. This is also a Zeus enabler, as well as an out to skill drain, because you can tribute this and then pop the skill drain. So things to keep in mind. I love this package. You may disagree, let me know in the comments down below, but that's what I'm choosing to play. Continuing on with the X-Seeds, we got the 1 copy of YuGiOh, who I incorrectly referred to as Draco Sack just a few moments ago, and our Time Thief Redoer, right? Redoer is insane in this deck because it triggers your tier fuses or your Rhino Hearts that are underneath it. Things to keep in mind. This guy's insane. He just lets you grind forever, too. That's another cool thing. He just keeps coming back. Such a resilient monster. And we are playing the 1 Zeus. Spoiler alert, I mentioned it earlier. Of course, we're playing the 1 copy of Zeus. Last card in the extra deck is the beautiful Baron, bro. We gotta play that Baron. That's right. He goes very well with our Diviner. That's kind of the only way we're able to access it, but it's still a diabolical card when you do. And that's another cool thing that I will mention here is that Baron is one of those high pressure monsters that you just stick on the board, and it deals with things like evenly matched that can oftentimes be problematic for you. So if you have the option to make this, I highly encourage you to do so, as long as you're not giving up too many fuses, right? Like, you don't want to stick those Kirans and leave them in the grave without a way of getting them out of there. So make sure you're lining this up in the time that makes sense. Okay, that's it for the extra deck. Let's go into the side deck real quick. Before we do that, though, shameless plug, baby. Dry Kage, Medionis Field Center, still available to grab. Now we have them in hand. We're shipping them out every week. Get your hands on these joints. Link in the description down below. Check them out, bro. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. All right, side deck. Let's do it. We got the 1 copy Scatter Shot for time. Need not explain it, bro. We have got access to it. We might as well play it. Triple copies of the Ghost Bell. Similar logic to our Drytron list, this is another card that lets us go offensive or defensive, counter something like a Bestial or a DD Crow, or counter the opponent's branded plays, counter any graveyard reliant deck. Bell is pretty strong in that situation, so it gives a lot of coverage. It makes it worth it to play, in my opinion. Moving on from there, we've got triple copies of Dark Ruler No More, good against those build-a-board decks like Sprite, good against something like Kashtira to deal with the Arise Heart. We just want to have outs to Arise Heart. We got the Gamma Seals and Sewer Polys in the main. Sometimes it does end up being worthwhile to bring in those Dark Rulers. Just, I know it doesn't deal with the zone locks, but who really cares? Because Arise Hearts are a real problem. We can deal with everything else. That's why it makes sense to bring in the Dark Rulers. It's just an overall amazing card. Moving on from there, back row. Let's deal with back row. We got triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone to do so. Not only is it back row, it's also the Runic. Runic is back on the rise, baby. We got to take care of those guys. We don't like them vanishing off our beautiful tier names. Therefore, we're going to max this guy out. Follow that up, I got 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Going first or going second card. You're eating hand traps. Great, let's take a look at that opponent's hand. Let's draw 2 cards. Let's keep on playing. Let's bring this guy in when we're going first 100%. And finally, we've got the tier package to bring in going first as well. We've got the Heartbeat. We got the Media Noise, and we got the Crime, all right? We got our Crime, which is our Counter Trap, Omni Negate. We got our Meta Noise, which is our Book of Moon, and the Heartbeat, which is additional spell and trap removal or adding back your traps. Beautiful stuff there, guys. That's the side deck, and that is the build. Let me know what you guys think about this. Again, it's not really super duper logical to do a combo tutorial with this build because your deck is so RNG reliant on your opening hand and stuff. But if you want to see gameplay of this deck, I highly encourage you to join the stream. Link in the description down below. And if you want me to make a video of tier gameplay, let me know in the comments, and we will make it happen. But with all that being said, Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day. I'll see you beautiful people later. Peace.
石がそう四角い空心の隙間埋める